This is Soforcast. And actually, this is a second part of the Nvidia podcast series. In this episode, Mark will tell you more customer cases, and I have to say, I really enjoyed those ones. So please follow us until the end. And now, enjoy. If we give us, you and me, sort of like freedom to innovate for a few minutes, and there's nobody's going to ask at how are you going to do it, and that will never happen, and I have ever heard anything so stupid in my life. So if we forget that one, do you think that by using Nvidia and all the things that you said, that we can really change the way we meet each other's on virtual meetings? Nowadays, we're using a lot of Teams, and I know we can share the video and we can share the document and we can write the same document at the same time. But can we have something bit more that we have the sort of like that human feel of having the other person in the same table, as that we can more flexible discuss about things, that we can sort of like go and have that remote meeting in next of the whiteboard. Do you think that Nvidia is somehow able to help us to have that next level when it comes to these remote meetings? I don't know if there was any idea.
You mean like Star Wars with the
like Star Wars, indeed, just like Star Wars.
R2D2 gets up. Now, I think that yes is the answer for that.
Yeah.
The technology is. We see that, for example, in 3D e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
And what is that? That is an enhanced e-commerce where you can actually download the product, the sofa or the stereo that you're looking to buy, and you can download it and visualize it in your own home, right? To download pictures from your home and your garage for a new car, for example. I could visualize or see in the future exactly what you said, that as opposed to sitting like this, we could be standing and doing. But I also think that we need to not downsell the human element to that extent, right? So what determines if that would happen or not? Is there a demand for it?
Mm.
What do you want as a person, right? Because we can do it, but what is the use for it? Because I think that the human, and this has become very, very clear to me during this pandemic. I don't know if you agree, but I'm the type of person who's actually quite private outside of work, right?
Yeah.
I'm not the type of guy who runs up to the neighbors and asks them what's happening on the football practice, whatever, right? But I've become very much social during this, because you miss the interaction with other people, right? So I think that the technology should enable progress, but it shouldn't be at the cost of the human meeting, right?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I hope that answers your question. That do we want it? Yes. Is it for everyone? Not sure.
Yeah, I agree. There has to be a need, but because I've been discussing with a few of my colleagues, and I'm working in sales, so I have some of my closest colleagues are working in sales, and quite often the persons who start this kind of work are those who are able to meet other humans and have some basic or above basic social skills, and they are really suffering for not to meeting the customers, not to having that discussion beside the whiteboard, not to be able to draw the table how they are seeing some problems, how they could solve it, and they're really suffering. So, and that's the reason why I have to ask that one.
No, and I think that maybe a better way of phrasing it is that the post-COVID world, assuming everything goes well, will probably be less but more, how should I say, qualified meetings in the sense,
That's true.
I
That's
think
true.
you can't just say, come on, let's talk about it. You'd have to be, I'm not saying people do that, but I usually laugh when you work at I remember I worked a few years ago at an American company, and they wrote, okay, the company needs to save money, so no unnecessary travel. And essentially what they're saying is that, okay, so did you do that before, or what do you mean? We didn't do unnecessary travel earlier. But I think that you need to focus to a lot of things can be done virtually today.
Yeah.
It will increase, but I mean, I agree with you in the sense that, and me also as a salesperson, you miss that human touch. And also, even though I have to say that the platforms we're using today is better than just phone or mail, right? Because the experience I have is that when you mail too much, and also just talking on the phone, you leave a lot of room for misunderstanding. That's what I think, right? And we can see each other here at least. So I mean, usually it works, but there are limitations to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, it's difficult to go in and understand a production environment at a customer site if you've never seen it, right?
That's true.
There's only so much you can do with with a video camera and things
Yeah.
like that.
That's true. And it's nice that you might have some solutions that are possible could help us to have that human feel into that remote meeting. I don't know how that lines up, but let's see.
Yeah.
Mark, you said earlier that you're really working with the manufacturing side and retail side,
Yeah.
and we discussed earlier about the few minutes ago about the virtualization that we are using when it comes to manufacturing. But let's talk first about the manufacturing side, because earlier you said that you work, for example, with IoT. Do you have a link from your past work experience to the one that you were doing at the moment at the manufacturing site with Nvidia, or do you have some other kind of cases that you feel that are really cool and you would like to tell to the listener that hey, this is something that we are doing here in Finland and Sweden that you should really think about this when you think about manufacturing?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I think that it's a combination of the two. Meaning, first, that yes, I do see a connection to what is happening on the shop floors in terms of IoT, and for us that means edge compute, right? Because Nvidia has GPUs that you could put very close to the equipment, right? So you typically have, I don't know, the governance in the cloud, but then the deployment locally on the edge, right? And this is a very big focus area for us. It will be even bigger now with 5G coming, which will enable a lot of applications on the shop floor that was not really capable for. So we're spending time there, but there's also some new things, right? Because why I think the manufacturing space is so interesting is that the potential is so large there, and there's been a lot of things happening there. Only the last couple of years that have really made AI relevant for this area.
Yeah.
And one of them is, of course, the number of sensors today that you can see out in the factories, right? Which enables any type of data collection and analysis in a way that wasn't possible before, right? It enables real-time decisions, but also I would say that the manufacturing companies in our region are extremely dependent on optimization of their supply chain, for example. Very few customers, the forest companies and miners are not part of it, of course, but most companies are very dependent on what's happening in China, the US, other Asian countries, and so forth. And that means that the supply chain and the capability to predict and to analyze what kind of tools is available on the market and so forth is extremely important, that is accurate, right?
Yeah.
We also see, the predictive maintenance, and that is a story that has been sold for, 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
We want to find out before something breaks, send a warning. That's great. I mean, but that is also a problem because that means that the life cycle of the product is going to be longer, right? And if you are working for a company, you want to resell the product 5 years from now. That's what you and I want to do. But if the quality of the product increases, right, you're going to sell fewer. So that means that you need to find new business models. And here, Typically, the aftermarket is the low-hanging fruit, where you sell services to service the product that you're selling. It could be security measurements. It could be that you monitor um, the equipment that you have at the customer site, for example, and different customers have different needs, so that enables the gold, silver, bronze approach, and it's a new revenue stream, right? But also, I think that what we're seeing a lot in the manufacturing is anything to do with vision inspection. That is the most common case I'm seeing. That means essentially that we're replacing sensors with cameras, right? And we're looking to automate quality processes, for example, which is a typical example of something that takes a lot of time, is inefficient, but it's something you have to do, right? And a camera can do that in a cheaper and much faster way, right? But you're also looking for anomalies in production lines, for example, and that could go down to half an inch. You can see if a rotor blade in a wind turbine or a screw inside of a sofa, for example, is just slightly wrong. It will stop production immediately, right?
So you said about the visual capabilities. So
Yeah.
and by investing camera that is being made for that specific purpose, and by having your hardware and software, you can really make, like you said earlier, almost real time decisions. Almost real time means that the difference is so small, and that is really vital. And it's more easier, like you said, upgrade an existing production line, or upgrading your factory, or whatever you are having. And by using the modern technologies, you can quite easily also, like you said earlier, upgrade your value chain. Quality gets better, and people can do other things than look at the tree, or metal that goes through the line. So that's,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I would say that in the region here, most companies are doing something there
Yeah.
today. And I think that the add-on that we have here is that we've built a solution called Deepstream, which is essentially an operating system for cameras, right? So it's probably the closest thing we have to a plug and play solution, where we have GPU, small one called Jetson. You put in the
Mhm.
camera, you train that typically on some other hardware. You use the Jetson application to build a solution, and then that is compatible with a lot of the camera providers, everything from specialized camera providers for mines or whatever, to the big ones like Sony or Canon or whatever, right? So that is something where we've had a lot of success in that area, including here in the Nordics, right? So we're actually going to have a reference case coming up pretty soon that I hope to share the next time we talk, but
Yeah.
with a famous company in the north that is doing something environmentally friendly, that I can say. But
Yeah.
so that is also a big thing, right? But again, edge compute. How can we accelerate the sensor data that is being collected today? I mean, the cloud is there, and we think that is great. But to do edge compute obviously requires very local compute power, and we have solutions being built now called EGX, or Nvidia certified server, where we're going to come with GPU, CPU, networking, and storage capabilities all in one small little
Mm.
box that you can
Mm.
put there. So that is going to be, I think, really exciting to see.
Deep dream. Sorry, Mark, I had to Google it.
Yeah.
This sounds really fascinating. So you have this sort of a really capable camera with a sort of a platform for AI that you can easily learn to work correct way, and quite fast you can actually upgrade your production line. And it's,
Yeah.
it's sort of like changing the mystic around AI. It comes closer to the factory floor, and you have the specific knowledge of how your work should be done, and then you are starting to have a building blocks. You just find the correct partner to help you to go further, so Nvidia can really help you to do things better. That's a really cool story.
Yeah, I think it is. I think also with regards to your So far is primarily you're good at the visualization side of our. So far, we're hoping you will join us on other technologies as well, but also anything that has to do with simulation, because Nvidia enables a lot of the technologies out there today. That we have to think about. We're talking about the end customers here, but we're also seeing, a lot of customers are coming to us asking us, can we embed your solutions in our offering, for example? Robotics manufacturers are doing that. Traditional industrial equipment companies, telcos are doing that. Can we have GPUs and your software stack to enable vision inspection on our equipment, right? And it also comes down to a lot of the software provider in the simulation industry, right? And we all know the story of the digital twin and augmented reality, things like that. Those are mostly applications that is using GPUs today, right? We see again a little bit to the remote work kind of stuff. You see most car manufacturer 100% virtual in terms of crash testing, right? No actual crash, all done virtually. We see medical companies looking to simulate, for example, they want to go from a liquid form to a pill form, tablet form, right? And what kind of material should we be using for creating this pill, right? That we're going to take, and all this is simulation today that took I think a lot of time, a lot of compute power, and now they're GPU enabled, and there's a lot of activity in that area as well.
Do you want to say something about the retail stuff? Is there something cool that you would like to say? Do you get something in your mind?
Yeah, I think with the retail, I mean, it depends on how you look at it, because we have one big retailer here in the region, right? That is as much a manufacturing company that it is a retail company, meaning they design and they produce most of the things they're selling themselves, right? So that means that a lot of the things we're doing in manufacturing is also very applicable for them, right? But what I would say when it comes to retail are two things. First, we touched upon that quickly: 3D e-commerce, right? How do you enhance that? As opposed to you going on the web and looking for a watch or whatever, how can you enhance that experience? Make it more real, right? This is top of the agenda for most retailers today, and we have many solutions in that area. The other one comes from, I would say, the rendering of pictures or videos for commercials, right? There's a lot of things happening in that area as well, where they need to enhance the customer experience and build some better connection to the customers, right? And that could be through loyalty programs and things like that. So we're working a lot in that space as well. Virtual product launches, really important. Again, cost saving. You look at a car manufacturer today. Typically, what they do, they would launch a new model, right? They would travel to, I don't know, Munich, Paris, Detroit, and show it, right, with some young girls around it or whatever. Right? Invite a lot of journalists to it, and now they're doing it all virtually. You can download it, and you can imagine what kind of money they are saving on that, right? And this is very applicable for the retailers as well. As opposed to these huge product launches of new lines of clothes or new toys or whatever, if they can make these product launches virtual, but also make a connection to the customers, there's a lot of money to be saved there.
So basically, by using Nvidia solutions, for example, let's say if I would have a sofa company, I would be building different kind of sofas, and by using your solution, I could create a service where I could actually download the picture of the sofa, and by using, for example, my phone, looking at the corner where I would like to put the sofa, that it could sort of like fit in the right scale, and I could see if this is a correct one or not. And maybe just by changing the color of the sofa, I could really choose the correct one.
Exactly.
This, Mark, what you said really does change the way companies could sell their products. to customers. So if the one who are listening to this, if you are a small company making sofas that are really cool, and you think that I have this great idea, but I don't know how I could sell this to the end users, that it's too difficult for me to create that partner, locate the right partners and start create the sales and do that one. But by using Nvidia, maybe you could just do that sofa at your home, or sorry about this, verstas, and by having a good web services, you could actually sell these globally.
This is how it starts.
Yeah, this is how it
This
starts.
is how it starts. And
Yeah,
some of them will be like Tesla. Some of them will be forgotten. But I mean, it's a lot of things are
yeah,
possible at
yeah,
the moment. But what we need to always think about is what is the value here.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and I personally think that technology should never annoy the customer, right?
yeah,
And this is different for a retailer or any consumer, that it's easy to annoy people with too much technology that is not useful, right? So
yeah,
there's a
that's true.
balance there of the need to do's and the nice to do's, right?
Yeah. Okay, Mark, I think talking to you is so easy.
GTC.
And yeah, this is so easy. And I was a bit scared how I could manage with my English, because I,
No.
I haven't been using it for a while. And I always have a saying that if you don't use it, you lose it. And I thought I had to lose it already. I lost it already. But I have a few questions for you. This is not so serious,
Yeah.
but you said earlier that you are half the Swede and half a
Yeah.
Norwegian. So I had a friend back in the days. I hope you're listening to this, Timo. And you said that friend of that's a friend of mine, but that he had the same questions, same problems at that time. But when you're looking at the football or winter sport, who do you support, the Swedes or the Norwegians?
Well, I support Sweden because I'm born here. I
Yeah,
lived here all my life. My mother is Norwegian, and for me it was it's a funny story because I'm born 1975. So when I was young, the Norwegians were a little bit behind in a lot of
yeah,
sports, and you
yeah.
felt sorry for them, a little bit. But now it's it's
It's
the
a
other way
different
around,
story. Yeah,
So, but so if, it's the rivalry and the love for it. I would
yeah,
say no, I haven't had those. To be honest with you,
yeah,
not when it comes to sports. I
yeah.
think it's. I mean, we have that with we have it with Finland in ice hockey, as you would know.
Mm,
But you also have to think about one thing, that I live in Malmö, right?
yeah,
And this is Denmark area.
yeah.
So it depends on
Really south.
where you are in Sweden as well. Here, the people don't really care about ice hockey, right?
Yeah,
So for
but
them, Finland is, they don't really know, right? But in Stockholm, it's your neighbors, right? So it depends a little bit, but no, I couldn't tell you a bad story on that. I just think it's amazing that you grow up. They were a little bit behind. I remember I came there when I was a kid, and the roads were terrible, which they still are, by the way. But now, I mean, they've become extremely successful
mm,
in business and in sports as well. But I'll tell you
yeah.
a funny thing. I've never had a bad meeting with a customer in Norway,
Okay.
but I don't think I ever sold anything to them. So maybe you should cut that out. But yeah, this is how do you do
Wish-
it? It's
I don't know.
difficult.
I don't know. But that's about it. I hope you enjoyed our discussions, and most probably we will have another session later on.
Yeah,
And okay, that's agreed, Mark. We will do that.
exactly.
And
Yeah, we agree.
yeah,
But I'm thinking about the GTC. Just say a couple of words about that, if that is okay.
yeah,
Yeah, just to end, I think that if you're interested in more about Nvidia, what we're doing, one good place to go is the annual event we have, which is called
okay,
GTC, and it's 12th to the 16th of April, meaning that it's 3 weeks from now. There are about 1,000 sessions there, so I can understand that you're not going to see all of them. And I obviously think that the manufacturing sessions are are going to be extra interesting. We're going to have cases there with Siemens and Alstom, which touches upon some of these use cases that we talked about. But we're also going to have two secret customers coming on, which are from the region. One of them is a consumer internet company. I cannot mention their name. The other one is a big retailer. So it could be really interesting to see how they are talking and working from a Nordics perspective. Also, we have the Wallenberg Foundation coming on to talk about what we did together with them in something called WASP. And that is something we're seeing in Finland and in Sweden and across the region. It's a collaboration between a private actor and a university who's building a huge research center for AI. And that is being sponsored by the Wallenberg family, one of the big industry families in Sweden, together with the university, and they are going to be presenting there as well. So if you have the time, I think particularly if you're working in the area of research, it could be good. But apart from that, I really recommend you going into Sofor webpage and talking to them, because I think you've been a great partner, and I hope that we will have a lot of success in the future as well.
That's, Mark, really nice to hear. And I also would like to, because I learned a lot during our discussions, and that was a deep stream. Yeah, that's something I want to learn more.
Yeah,
and maybe find the cases that I could discuss wherever I go. But in the meanwhile, like Mark said, it's Nvidia GTC. Yeah,
GTC. Yeah.
yeah, GTC. That's the place where you can find more information. Meanwhile, please follow us in LinkedIn, Sofor or Nvidia. This podcast will be up in also sofor.fi, sofor.fi pages, and also in Spotify under the Soforcast. Mark, I really enjoyed, and I hope we meet again.
Thank you. Me too.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.